A very simple word, a very calm voice, but when it reached Sun Yun's mind, it made her body tremble suddenly, as though the world was collapsing around her, forming threads beyond imagination, wrapping around her body. In that instant, Sun Yun's physical form, her soul, even the primordial energy within her, came to a complete standstill. Even her thoughts ceased to function, as if they were left behind in a previous world. Wang Lin's figure appeared before Sun Yun. Sitting cross-legged, Sun Yun's graceful body, hidden beneath her clothes, was now more apparent. A faint fragrance filled the room, emanating from her. Her expression still held the firmness from before, unmoving. Wang Lin carefully took the black pill from Sun Yun's hand. The color of the pill seemed to be the source of all darkness in the world, so dark that a single glance made one feel as if their mind could be sucked in. How strange, Wang Lin muttered. His divine sense scanned the pill, and a calculating gleam appeared in his eyes. While Wang Lin was not as proficient in pill refining techniques as in sealing techniques, his cultivation was immense. His divine sense spread through the pill, analyzing the structure of the medicinal ingredients inside. Most of them were unfamiliar to him, but more importantly, he felt a soul fluctuation from within. How interesting. Wang Lin's eyes shone with intense light. He looked again at the pill, confirming that his senses weren't wrong. The pill did indeed contain a soul fluctuation. Though faint, it was very resilient. Closing his eyes, Wang Lin had the sensation that what he was holding wasn't a pill, but the soul essence of a fierce beast. This soul essence resembled a violent ape, struggling furiously in his grasp, though it was bound by countless seals, unable to break free. Opening his eyes, all the illusions vanished. Wang Lin returned the pill to Sun Yun's fingers and stepped back, extending his right hand and pointing forward. Immediately, the invisible threads that had been wrapped around Sun Yun dissipated. She trembled, then returned to normal. To her, it felt like an instant, as if past and present were overlapping. Wang Lin's cultivation far surpassed hers. Under the binding technique, Sun Yun didn't even have the ability to sense anything abnormal, maintaining her previous posture, her eyes full of determination, swallowing the pill. Wang Lin stood behind her, observing quietly. Sun Yun didn't notice anyone had appeared behind her. After swallowing the pill, her complexion turned rosy, though pain could be faintly seen in her expression. Sweat began to bead on her forehead, and soon her clothes were soaked, sticking to her body. From behind, Wang Lin clearly saw the graceful arc of her back and waist as she sat cross-legged. Sun Yun's face grew redder, her eyes closed. She could distinctly feel a fire burning within her body. This flame ignited her soul, and gradually, in her mind, a golden-eyed black ape manifested. This ape was huge, its aura fierce, and it roared and howled in her mind, charging straight toward her soul. Flames spread through her mind. Sun Yun's soul had already been injured, and now, in the flames, she felt intense pain. However, she didn't retreat. Instead, she engaged in a struggle with the golden-eyed black ape, as if her mind was a battlefield. Her soul and the ape seemed to be locked in a life-and-death battle. The ape roared, seemingly trying to tear apart her soul and body, escaping the flames burning. Yet, Sun Yun's soul clung tightly to the ape, allowing the flames to burn her while quickly refining the ape. It seemed that she would never be at peace until the ape was refined. But the black ape was incredibly powerful, and the speed at which it was refined in Sun Yun's soul was slower than her soul being burned by the flames. Gradually, Sun Yun's soul began to retreat, her body's complexion turning a deep red as she trembled. The death soul pill she had consumed left her with only the faintest thread of life. Sun Yun understood this well. If it weren't for the urgency to break through her cultivation, in order to help her master to the best of her ability, she would never have swallowed this pill so recklessly. Her master had shown her great kindness, and for her master, she would sacrifice everything. As her soul was forced back by the black ape, it had only been partially refined. The ape leaped forward, ready to tear apart her soul. At this moment, Wang Lin raised his right hand. He needed to observe how the pill worked. If Sun Yun failed, he would lose the opportunity to observe any further. Enough. I'll give this girl a stroke of fortune. Wang Lin shook his head, and his right index finger pressed against Sun Yun's crown. In an instant, Wang Lin's divine sense surged, entering her mind directly. Inside Sun Yun's mind, her soul was retreating, her despair slowly showing. As she saw the ape lunging toward her, a figure in white suddenly entered her mind. She couldn't see the figure's face, but she could make out a head of white hair floating in the wind. Before Sun Yun could even process the shock of seeing a white-haired figure appear in her consciousness, her soul suddenly trembled. She stared ahead in disbelief. After the white-haired figure appeared, he casually pointed with his right hand. Immediately, the charging black ape beast let out a terrible scream and quickly retreated. A series of loud, thudding noises came from within the beast's body, which suddenly began to collapse, consumed by flames that erupted around it and rapidly refined it. Sun Yun stood frozen, stunned by the elegance of that single motion. She couldn't find the words to describe it, but in that moment, she felt as though that single finger had taken over her entire consciousness. It was enough to shake the heavens. Under that finger, it seemed as though the very heavens and earth would tremble, and the sky itself would collapse. She had seen her master, LV Yanfei, perform divine abilities, but at this moment, she clearly realized that even her master could not perform such an earth-shattering move. In fact, even her master would likely be forced to retreat and perish under such power. She had also witnessed her grandmaster, who had already passed into the abyss of oblivion, display divine abilities. But even her grandmaster, in her eyes, would find it difficult to perform such a feat, especially with the white-haired figure's nonchalant demeanor. It was as if he didn't even care, yet it still shook her very soul. It seemed as though the white-haired figure glanced back at her for a moment. With a single step, he moved far away from her consciousness and vanished. All that remained in Sun Yun's mind was the image of that white hair, indelibly etched in her heart. The black ape was refined by the flames in her consciousness, forming a strange soul power. In that instant, it wildly fused into her primordial soul, preventing her from thinking about the white-haired figure anymore. As she continued absorbing the soul power, Sun Yun gradually entered a peculiar state, akin to the Genesis realm. In this strange state, pieces of enlightenment regarding the Tao and the understanding of the heavens and earth flowed from the soul power, merging into her mind. The black ape was no ordinary fierce beast, but a unique spirit beast from the Cloud Sea Star domain. Like humans, such spirit beasts also practiced cultivation and had insights into the Tao. Moreover, due to their long natural lifespans, their understanding of the heavens and earth was often deeper than that of cultivators. This black ape had lived for over 3,000 years. Its soul was taken and combined with pill refining techniques to create the death-departing soul pill. It was unclear how much time passed, but eventually, Sun Yun slowly opened her eyes. A bright gleam shone in them, and a breath of Yang fulfillment realm energy surrounded her body. Although she had not yet reached the Yang fulfillment stage, she had opened the door to it. Given time, if she could integrate the insights she had gained, she would soon become a true Yang fulfillment cultivator. Sun Yun suddenly turned around, only to find there was no one else in the room. It was completely empty. Yet, she could not forget the image of that white hair and the elegance of that single finger. After a moment of silence, Sun Yun's face darkened. She stared blankly ahead, unable to shake the image of the white-haired figure in her mind. Deep down, as a woman, she had a nagging intuition that she had seen this figure before. Was it an illusion? White hair. White hair. Sun Yun's eyes gradually brightened again. She suddenly recalled the words her master had spoken, how her grandmaster, before passing into the abyss, had used the spirit selection divine ability and said something similar. North. White hair. Sun Yun's chest rose and fell with emotion. She immediately rushed out of the room, transforming into a streak of light as she headed straight for her master's palace in the southern mountain range. Wang Lin stood by the window, watching the long streak of light disappear into the distance. A knowing expression appeared in his eyes. I didn't expect that such a pill exists within the Cloud Sea Star domain. Doesn't this mean that the more powerful the spirit beast, the more its soul can assist in understanding the conceptual realms? This is completely different from the thunder and rain realms, he mused. Suddenly, his expression changed as he recalled something. the refined soul of the beast his master had cultivated, which was delivered by Mog at the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect. At that very moment, within the dense star mist of the fifth-level star domain in the Cloud Sea, not far from Moro Continent, a giant black beast, about 100 feet in length, resembling a tadpole, was slowly flying. The beast's enormous head took up most of its body, with a gaping mouth scarred like a wound. It occasionally opened, as if devouring the star mist, revealing sharp teeth and a bloodthirsty, violent flame in its eyes. Its long, thin tail swayed gently behind it. On top of its head stood two figures. The first was a young man in a purple robe, handsome yet exuding an aura of evil, giving him a violent presence. Behind the youth stood an elderly man, who stood with a respectful expression. His gaze occasionally shifted to the young man, revealing an indulgent affection. Young sect master, not only do I want that LV Yanfei to become my concubine cauldron, but I also want the Guiyuan sect to become my private palace. Uncle Song, how confident are you? The young man asked. If that old Taoist hasn't died, I have no confidence at all. But now, I'm certain, the old man replied calmly, a flash of cold light appearing in his eyes. The young man laughed loudly upon hearing this, licking his lips. He seemed to have thought of something, and a lewd expression appeared on his face. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin had been at the Guiyuan sect for 10 days. Sun Yun had already returned from her master, and during these days, she had secretly investigated the 31 mortals from the northern region. However, in the end, she found nothing. As for Wang Lin, she had observed him as well, but no clues had been uncovered. Even her master, LV Yanfei, had taken this matter seriously, personally using divine abilities to try and detect any clues, but the result was the same. In Sun Yun's heart, the shadow of the white-haired figure had not faded with time. On the contrary, it had become more vivid. At times, when meditating in the middle of the night, she would unknowingly see the figure of the white-robed, white-haired person in the graceful posture of a single finger. Who exactly is he? This question had been troubling Sun Yun all along. One afternoon, Sun Yun pushed open the door to her room. The rain splashed against the eaves, with a few droplets landing on her face. She furrowed her delicate brows, raised her jade hand to wipe away the rain, and with an expression of quiet beauty, she stepped outside. The rain seemed to fall onto an invisible shield about half a foot from her body, then flowed down to the sides. As she walked through the yard, Sun Yun glanced at the various medicinal herbs planted nearby. Suddenly, she looked up, gazing at the building where Wang Lin was. She had suspected Wang Lin from the beginning. But these days, this young man, named Zheng Niu, seemed like an ordinary mortal, except for his calmness and composure. Without knowing why, Sun Yun subconsciously walked toward Wang Lin's dwelling. She stood outside for a moment, then raised her brows and pushed open the door. I told you to come here to take care of the herbs, but in these past few days, have you even done so once? Sun Yun stared at Wang Lin, who was reading a wooden slip at the small table inside the room. She didn't know why, but after seeing Wang Lin these days, her emotions always felt disturbed, and she could no longer maintain the calm demeanor of an Yin deficiency cultivator. Wang Lin put down the wooden slip he had borrowed from the Guiyuan sect's scripture pavilion. This wooden slip wasn't of high value. Any new disciple could borrow it. It contained the history of Moro Continent and a simple introduction to the Cloud Sea star domain. The purpose of these wooden slips was to help new disciples better understand the cultivation world and the Cloud Sea, so that they could comprehend the idea that there were always greater forces beyond what was known, motivating them to cultivate diligently. While reading the wooden slip, Wang Lin's mind wasn't fully focused on it. He was also contemplating alchemy and spirit beasts. Glancing at Sun Yun, Wang Lin slowly asked, "Have any of the herbs died?" Sun Yun was momentarily stunned. The herbs had been even more lush than before in the past days. Even some of the withered roots that had been about to be discarded had mysteriously come back to life. Wang Lin didn't speak further, picking up the wooden slip and continuing to read. The more he acted this way, the more Sun Yun furrowed her brows. She stepped into the room, and as she did, a pleasant fragrance filled the small space. Wang Lin was naturally familiar with this scent, having smelled it at the place where Sun Yun meditated. Those herbs didn't die, and it has nothing to do with you. It's because the spiritual energy here is abundant, and most of these herbs are aquatic in nature. Therefore, they can absorb the world's energy from the rain during this rainy season, Sun Yun said coldly, staring at Wang Lin. Oh, Wang Lin casually nodded, not even glancing at Sun Yun, flipping a page of the wooden slip as he continued to read. Zheng Niu. Seeing Wang Lin's attitude, Sun Yun's eyes widened. Wang Lin furrowed his brows, putting the wooden slip down again and coldly looking at Sun Yun. Sun Yun had a lot to say, but as her gaze met Wang Lin's, she instinctively swallowed the words that were about to leave her lips. She stood frozen for a moment, her expression dazed. My task is to prevent these herbs from dying. If there's nothing else, please refrain from disturbing me. Wang Lin's voice was flat. After saying this, he didn't look at Sun Yun again, picking up the wooden slip once more. Under Wang Lin's gaze, Sun Yun's heart fluttered inexplicably. Is it really him? Sun Yun remained silent for a moment, deeply staring at Wang Lin. She bit her lower lip, then turned and left the room. Late at night, the oil lamp on the table flickered, and outside the window was pitch black, with only the sound of rain pouring down, mixed with the occasional thunder that followed a lightning strike. The wind from the mountain range blew into the Guan sect, which lay in this basin, forming swirling vortexes that echoed with soft whistling. Wang Lin put down the wooden slip in his hands and closed his eyes, pondering for a moment. From the general information in the wooden slip, he had deduced a lot of things. He had gained a rough understanding of the Cloud Sea and, more importantly, through a jade slip he had seen 4 days ago, he had made some progress in his thoughts and reflections on alchemy. Opening his eyes, Wang Lin raised his head, his gaze seeming to pierce through the building itself, breaking through the rain and the silver-like lightning, directly looking up at the sky above the Guan sect's basin. The floating Taoist temple, held aloft by 8 massive stone pillars. Within the temple, Wang Lin could clearly sense a formidable presence lingering in the air. His figure flickered and vanished from the room. When he reappeared, he stood atop one of the towering stone pillars, outside the temple, suspended in midair. Here, the elements raged. Wind and rain howled. Thunder rolled like the roar of angry beasts. Unbothered, Wang Lin pushed open the temple doors and stepped inside. The temple wasn't large. Aside from a few furnishings, the most eye-catching feature was at its very center, a massive spatial rift. Violet luminescence radiated from within, bathing the entire temple in a purple hue. Behind the rift stood a shelf, faint with the ripple of protective wards. On it rested 3 items: a longsword, a jade slip, and a single pill. The moment Wang Lin entered the temple, the violet light from the rift flared. A massive serpent's head emerged, its tongue flickering, eyes fixed intently on him. This serpent was a deep purple-black, its eyes glowing with intense violet light. Anyone else caught in its gaze would have felt their soul tremble. But to Wang Lin, it had no effect whatsoever. He didn't even glance at the violet-eyed serpent. He simply walked past. The serpent growled lowly, but its eyes betrayed fear. It shrank back, allowing Wang Lin to pass unhindered. 4 days ago, Wang Lin had already visited this place. That violet-eyed serpent, by cultivation level, could rival a late glimpse of Nirvana cultivator. But to Wang Lin, killing it would be effortless. He'd nearly done so during his first visit, but refrained. After all, he would be staying in the Origin Reunion sect for some time. Slaying their sect guardian beast upon arrival would have been ungracious. So he spared its life. Now, standing by the shelf, Wang Lin waved his right hand, dispelling the protective formations. He picked up the jade slip and once again focused his attention on it. He had already read it during his previous visit. The cultivation techniques and divine abilities of the Origin Reunion sect didn't interest him, but the sections on spirit beasts and pill refining, those he valued. After a careful rereading, he looked contemplative. Setting the jade slip down, he picked up the pill beside it. At first glance, the pill seemed utterly ordinary. 4 days ago, he hadn't noticed anything special. But now, after days of studying the alchemical knowledge within the jade slip, he'd returned specifically for this pill. According to the jade slip, spirit beasts in the Cloud Sea Star domain are ranked across 13 tiers. Pills refined using their beast souls are likewise graded into 13 tiers. This pill left behind by the sect's ancestor is an 8th-tier soul-severing pill, passed down through generations of the Origin Reunion sect. Sadly, it's a defective pill, one that never absorbed the soul of an 8th-tier spirit beast. Regret flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. His days of research had begun to reveal the structure of the Cloud Sea alchemy technique. This visit was meant to confirm his theories. Looking at the pill in his hand, he now knew the answer. With a quiet sigh, he placed it back on the shelf. He didn't take any of the 3 inheritance items clearly left behind by the sect's ancestor. Wang Lin had no grudge with the Origin Reunion sect. With his strength, he disdained to plunder their legacy. A glance was enough. What I need now is to personally refine a pill using the Cloud Sea alchemy technique. Within this Cloud Sea star domain, my goal is to raise my cultivation by every means possible. Resolute, Wang Lin was just about to leave, when suddenly, he looked up sharply, eyes gleaming with a strange light. At the western edge of the Moro continent, high above in the skies, flashes of lightning burst forth. Thunder rumbled like muffled drums, as if something was bombarding from the outside. The Moro continent floated within the Cloud Sea star domain, protected by a black pagoda that emitted a gentle glow covering the entire land. That pagoda didn't just hold back the star mist, it also served as a defensive barrier. Its protection wasn't only against rogue cultivators from beyond, it guarded especially against the countless fierce beasts lurking at the Cloud Sea's edges. In this star domain, beasts were divided into 2 kinds. Those tamed by cultivators were spirit beasts. Those that roamed the star mist and battled humans to the death were fierce beasts. Now, under the roar of the thunder, the protective light from the black pagoda on the continent's western edge distorted. Then, with a sky-shattering explosion, shattered completely. The deafening crash overwhelmed even the thunder, drowning out the sound of rain. The echoes swept across the entire Moro continent and rang clearly within the Origin Reunion sect itself. From the shattered barrier emerged a colossal spirit beast, over 100 zhang long, jet black, shaped like a monstrous tadpole. It slowly forced its way into the Moro continent, surrounded by flashing arcs of lightning. The vast black spirit beast charged forward with a thunderous roar, its massive body entering the Moro continent. On top of its head, an elderly man with a defiant expression slowly withdrew his right hand, purple wind swirling around it. From now on, the Guiyuan sect belongs to me, the young sect master, he proclaimed. The sound of rumbling echoes spread across the land. The enormous beast continued its advance into the Moro continent. As the elderly man looked fondly at the young man beneath him, a smile crossing his face. Amid the young man's laughter, the black spirit beast surged forward with unimaginable speed, heading straight for the Guiyuan sect in the eastern part of the Moro continent. With the young sect master of the Violet Dao sect here, the Guiyuan sect should come and pay their respects. A hoarse and sinister voice echoed as the beast charged forward, spreading through the land of Moro, and it was heard clearly by the only cultivation sect on the continent, the Guiyuan sect. The elderly man knew that the young sect master's actions were bold and overbearing. If it had been any other time, he wouldn't have tolerated it, but right now, the life and death of the Guiyuan sect were in his hands. Thus, he chose to indulge the young sect master's arrogance. The elderly man waved his right hand, sending forth a gust of purple wind that turned into a whirlwind, sweeping through heaven and earth. The falling rainwater reversed its course in an instant, and wherever the hurricane passed, it seemed as though the rain was forced to stop. Even the thunderbolts that streaked across the sky were torn apart by the whirlwind, scattering into arcs of electric light that resembled blossoming flowers from afar. At that moment, all disciples of the Guiyuan sect were abruptly awakened from their meditation. Pale-faced, they clearly sensed an overwhelming pressure coming from the west, as if it could crush them at any moment. On the peak of the eastern courtyard mountain in the Guiyuan sect, one of the 4 elders, a middle-aged man, closed his eyes with a bitter expression. He then suddenly opened them wide, his body transforming into a long rainbow as he sped towards the west. My master has just passed away, and the Violet Dao sect is acting so arrogantly. After enduring all this time, I, Li Xiangdong, will finally act recklessly. Even if I die, I will die standing tall. A sigh echoed from the northwest peak. Two elderly figures flew out slowly, gritting their teeth as they exchanged a glance before immediately heading towards the west. This was the moment of life or death for the Guiyuan sect, and they could no longer bear it. But what could they do? The Violet Dao sect was too powerful. Could they dare to kill the young sect master? Moreover, the old voice earlier contained a cultivation level so immense that it sent shockwaves through their spirits. Song Wuda, a defeated general under my master's command in the past, but now that my master has gone, Song Wuda has come personally. Could it be that the Guiyuan sect really faces a calamity that cannot be avoided, doomed to eternal ruin? In the red pavilion atop the southern mountain range, Lu Yanfei, dressed in red, looked despondent yet filled with killing intent. Without hesitation, she shot out as a streak of red light, heading west. Lu Yanfei, would rather die than yield to you. Lu Yanfei bit her lower lip, speeding through the air. Her tears, shimmering like pearls, fell to the ground, blending into the elements, indistinguishable from the rain. After the four elders of the Guiyuan sect, their direct disciples followed suit, each with expressions of fear, determination, or anger, flying out in haste toward the west. Among them was Sun Yun, her eyes filled with a vow of death. Yet, for some unknown reason, as she flew into the wind and rain, two figures appeared in her mind. One figure, with black hair and a thin frame, plain in appearance yet always calm as water. The other, dressed in white, with white hair, swept a finger, causing the heavens and earth to collapse. These two figures circled in her mind before merging into one. Wang Lin stood in the floating Taoist temple, watching the streaks of light vanish into the distance. Shaking his head, he calmly analyzed what he would do if the Guiyuan sect were destroyed. Finally, he furrowed his brows and muttered, "This is troublesome." With a flick of his sleeve, he took a step forward, causing ripples to spread under his feet. In an instant, he disappeared from the temple. From within the crack, the purple-eyed serpent beast, which had been growling since Wang Lin's appearance, hesitated. But now, sensing that the person had left and wouldn't return soon, it dared to roar. The night over Moro continent was almost over, and the sky in the west began to clear. Purple wind howled, and behind it, the massive black spirit beast rushed forward, its speed incredible, heading east. The elderly man atop it had a defiant look, his face calm. He was fully confident that the Guiyuan sect was within his grasp. Beside him, the young man in purple was visibly excited, exuding a lecherous aura. "Uncle Song, just injure Lu Yanfei heavily. Don't kill her by mistake. Let me have some fun with her for a few days, drain her primordialine, and then we can kill her later." The young man in purple licked his lips. The elder beside him nodded, about to speak, when suddenly his expression froze. He stared ahead intently. Before him, ripples suddenly appeared in the void, and a vast surge of heaven and earth energy spread out in an instant. From the ripples, a white-haired man slowly emerged. This white-haired man had a cold expression. As soon as he appeared, a terrifying wave of murderous aura erupted, shaking the very heavens and the earth. The black spirit beast immediately halted. The elder was momentarily stunned, but his expression soon changed. The young man in purple beside him furrowed his brows and was about to reprimand, but the elder immediately stepped in front of the youth, focusing on Wang Lin. His expression grew serious, and he spoke in a deep voice. "I am Song Wuda of the Violet Dao sect. Fellow Taoist, could you kindly allow me to pass?" Upon hearing the elder's words, the young man in purple clearly hesitated and scrutinized Wang Lin for a few moments. "I'll give you some face, but you'll leave here immediately and never set foot again." Wang Lin's voice was cold, like an icy wind piercing through the elder's body. The elder's face immediately darkened. Though his cultivation wasn't as strong as the ancestor of the Guiyuan sect, he had reached the mid-pure nirvana stage. However, the cultivation of the person before him was hard to discern, which is why his words had been polite. He had never expected such arrogance in return. Such audacity. Even the ancestor of the Guiyuan sect would not dare to. The elder didn't finish speaking, as the young man in purple behind him suddenly burst out laughing. Wang Lin didn't say another word. His eyes glimmered with cold light as he stepped forward. He raised his right hand, and immediately waves of killing aura surged wildly from his body, transforming the space in an instant. At that moment, an overwhelming slaughtering aura filled the air. The killing energy was accompanied by an unimaginable chill, so intense that the surrounding rain froze into ice crystals with cracking sounds. The massive black spirit beast, hundreds of feet tall, shuddered violently. With its high level of spiritual sensitivity, it immediately sensed the danger hidden within the killing aura, and before the purple-clad youth could issue an order, it hurriedly retreated. The young man in purple turned pale instantly, but still muttered angrily, "You." However, before he could finish, the elder slapped him hard, sending the young man crashing onto the black spirit beast's back. With a flick of his sleeve, he swept the black spirit beast backward in a frantic retreat. "Leave quickly. I'll kill this person and then join you." The elder's face grew incredibly serious. After sending the black spirit beast back, he rushed directly towards Wang Lin. The young man in purple had rarely seen the elder display such an expression, and panic rose in his heart. He quickly retreated with the black spirit beast. Wang Lin flicked his right hand, and the surrounding killing aura, which had already filled the entire space, surged wildly, converging from all directions with shrill howls as they charged towards the elder. The elder's pupils constricted. He quickly formed hand seals, and a purple wind erupted, pushing outwards to collide with the killing aura. The two forces clashed with thunderous booms that echoed far away. "Rain calling." Wang Lin raised his left hand and pointed to the sky. Instantly, within a radius of 100, 1,000, and 10,000 feet around him, the endless rain paused for a moment. As his finger fell, it trembled and was surrounded by a surge of heaven and earth energy, rushing toward the elder with immense force. The elder's mind was shaken. He had never heard of the two divine abilities the white-haired cultivator before him had just used. The power of both techniques caused him to gasp. Just as he was about to dodge, Wang Lin's cold gaze fell upon him, and he calmly uttered a single word: "Freeze." In an instant, the elder's body trembled, and he was suspended mid-air. In the blink of an eye, countless ice crystals rushed toward him from all directions, rapidly gathering around him and forming a massive ice crystal in the air. Without hesitation, Wang Lin reached out with his right hand, and a storage rift appeared in front of him. A rusted iron sword immediately materialized in his grip. With his body following the sword's movement, he raised it high and swung it fiercely. At that moment, the world, still dim, was suddenly illuminated by a flash of blinding light as the sword descended. The deafening crash of the ice crystal shattering was followed by a blood-red explosion. The elder's eyes were wide with shock and disbelief. His body shattered into pieces, and even his soul essence broke apart, scattering like a shockwave of primordial energy that spread outward. All of this happened in just a few breaths of time. A single strike had obliterated him. Even as the elder died, he couldn't believe that, in such a short time, he had been utterly destroyed, both body and soul. He had no regrets about dying, for the killing aura and the rain calling technique alone were enough to make a cultivator legendary in the cultivation world. And with that strike from the next-level Nirvana sword, not only him, but even someone at the mid-pure Nirvana stage would have been severely injured, if not killed. Wang Lin's rich experience and strength had sealed the fate of Song Wuda. His death was inevitable. In a flash, Song Wuda was killed. Wang Lin turned around and looked toward the black spirit beasts that had barely begun to flee, as well as the purple-clad youth who had witnessed the entire scene and let out a terrified scream, trembling in fear. With a cold gaze fixed on the purple-clad youth, Wang Lin took a step forward. In the distance behind him, long rainbows streaked through the sky. The shrill scream of the purple-clad youth, filled with extreme terror, clearly reached the ears of the four elders of the Guiyuan sect, and even fell into the heart and mind of LV Yanfei. Faintly, the sky cleared up, the rain dissipating. A hazy rainbow appeared in the early morning sunlight, stretching across the sky. In the rainbow, a figure chasing after the black spirit beasts was illuminated. His white hair gleamed, deeply etched into LV Yanfei's eyes. Especially that stunningly bright flash of light from the heavens and earth, though it faded in an instant, had taken the life of a pure Nirvana cultivator, leaving the four of them with a deep sense of impending doom. This scene left the four of them stunned, as if turned to stone. Before their eyes, the white-haired figure only had his back visible. His steps, though seemingly slow, were as fast as lightning, rushing toward the purple-clad youth on the black spirit beast. The purple-clad youth's screams echoed painfully, filled with terror. Lu Di had been cultivating for years, and although his cultivation was only at the Yin deficiency stage, his noble status had kept him from facing such a crisis until now. He had thought this trip would be nothing more than a playful adventure, and that with the protection of Song Wuda, who was skilled within their sect, and his own identity as the young sect master of the Violet Dao sect, he would be able to dominate the fifth step star domain. He never imagined, even now, that he would be left in shock and disbelief. Song Wuda had been slain in an instant by this white-haired youth, and even his soul could not escape. In the eyes of the purple-clad youth, this white-haired figure had transformed into the most terrifying beast in the world, and each step he took made the youth's screams grow more desperate. I am the young sect master of the Violet Dao sect. If you kill me, my father, Lu Yunzong, will destroy the entire Moro continent. The youth was terrified, an unfamiliar kind of fear. The white-haired figure's shadow grew ever closer, until it took over his entire vision. The black spirit beast beneath him, trembling, quickly retreated. Its spiritual sense had fully awakened, and its fear of Wang Lin was almost identical to that of its master, the purple-clad youth. If you dare harm me in the slightest, my Violet Dao sect will chase you to the ends of the earth and hunt you forever. With his fear reaching its peak, the purple-clad youth seemed to go mad, his voice cracking as he screamed. He slapped his storage pouch with his right hand, summoning a black lotus. The lotus, pitch black and eerily blossoming, emitted a black glow that enveloped the twisted face of the purple-clad youth. Just as he was about to activate this life-saving treasure his father had given him, a single finger appeared in front of him. The movement seemed slow, but in reality, it was as fast as lightning. The finger struck his brow. With a loud bang, the purple-clad youth spat blood, his eyes vacant and bloodshot. 2 streams of blood trickled from his eyes as his body was hurled backward like a broken kite. The ground shook with the impact as large clouds of blood mist erupted from his body, staining the surroundings red, a horrifying sight. His soul shattered, and he vaguely heard the frantic beating of his heart. His body swayed as though drifting in the clouds, but he grew weaker and weaker. The heartbeat grew fainter, as if separated by 2 worlds. Eventually, he could no longer hear it. At that moment, in the distance, behind the 4 elders of the Guiyuan sect, their direct disciples had also arrived. The last thing they saw was a bloodied figure, torn apart in midair, as it was thrown from the black spirit beast. With a thunderous crash, it became a mass of shredded flesh, falling like a rain of blood. In the blood mist beneath the rainbow, the white-haired figure's back was deeply engraved into their hearts. Sun Yun stared blankly at the figure ahead, her body trembling slightly. She bit her lip, her eyes glowing with a strange light. Lu Di was dead. His body had shattered, and his soul, like Song Wuda's, had dissipated into the heavens and earth. In Wang Lin's right hand, there was a blooming black lotus, along with a storage pouch. If the person threatened by Lu Di wasn't Wang Lin, but a local cultivator from the 5th step star domain of the Cloud Sea, there might still be some effect. Especially for sects weaker than the Violet Dao sect. Even if they were impulsive, they would hesitate, and ultimately, most would only capture him, not kill. After all, the Violet Dao sect's reputation in the 5th step star domain was enormous, ranking among the top 10. More importantly, Lu Yunzong's name was renowned. This person was extremely talented, even within the 5th step star domain, and his fame was legendary. But all these threats were meaningless to Wang Lin. A mere Lu Yunzong, a mere Violet Dao sect, did not even enter Wang Lin's sights. They had no qualifications to threaten him. Whether it is Luo Tian, the authentic Thunder Immortal, the Lord of the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect, the distant descendant of Immortal Emperor Bai Fan, senior brother of Immortal Monarch Qing Shui, or the disciple of the awakened Immortal Emperor Qing Shuang. Any one of these identities is far beyond what the Violet Dao sect can compare to. Moreover, Wang Lin's 1,000+ years of cultivation experience is something a genius like Lu Yun-song could never imagine. The threat from the Violet Dao sect is like a joke, not even comparable to a single hair on Tuo Sen's body. With a flick of his right sleeve, the black spirit beast, trembling in fear after losing its master and unwilling to escape, instantly turned into a beam of black light and was absorbed by Wang Lin, not daring to resist in the slightest. The sky had already brightened, and with the rising of the sun, a new day had arrived. The rainbow no longer appeared hazy, but now shone clearly and brightly, casting a soft glow into the sky and enveloping the land, the Moro continent, and everyone in the Guiyuan sect, both in body and mind. With his white hair billowing in the wind, Wang Lin's figure vanished with a single step. From beginning to end, not a single disciple of the Guiyuan sect saw Wang Lin's face. The only thing they witnessed was the towering silhouette and his long, snow-white hair. The surroundings fell into complete silence, only the sound of deep breaths growing heavier. The four elders of the Guiyuan sect exchanged glances, their minds shaken. In this short time, their despair had rapidly been replaced by shock. The swift change in their state of mind made it feel as though they were in a dream. Who is he? Why is this senior helping our Guiyuan sect? He killed Song Wuda in an instant. What level of cultivation is he at? He has white hair. LV Yanfei murmured, a smile appearing on her face. This smile, one that had not been seen since her master's severe injury and eventual death, now reappeared. In her smile, like a blooming flower, there was a unique grace, beauty, and joy. Her three senior brothers looked thoughtful, gazing at the spot where Wang Lin had vanished into the horizon. They fell silent, but their shock lingered, rippling through their hearts, unable to calm down. After a brief period of silence, the disciples of the elders erupted into loud cheers, soaring toward the Guiyuan sect in the form of sword lights, under the guidance of the four elders. Song Wuda and Lu Di are dead. The Violet Dao sect will never let this go. One of the elders, suppressing his shock, wore a worried expression as he transmitted his thoughts to the others. Master, before he entered the abyss of oblivion, mentioned the northern region and white hair. That senior, with white hair, must be the one Master referred to. With him here, perhaps our Guiyuan sect isn't at an impasse after all. But who exactly is this senior? I've observed the 31 mortals in our sect, but found no clue. If he helped us once, he'll help us again. LV Yanfei's voice was firm, causing the other three elders to fall silent. There's no use in searching. Since this senior doesn't want us to know, we'll let it be. LV Yanfei's eyes shone brightly, and she smiled once more. With a flick of her hand, she tapped her storage pouch and infused it with a hidden force, destroying an ancient scroll within. Before long, the disciples of Guiyuan's sect, transformed into long rainbows, returned to the sect's gates, spreading out in excitement. LV Yanfei didn't return to her pavilion in the southern mountain range, but instead went with Sun Yun to the medicine garden. Both women were exceptionally beautiful, and as they stood together, their appearance was truly captivating. From a distance, any sect disciple who saw them would momentarily be stunned. However, remembering LV Yanfei's identity, they quickly regained their composure, intending to pay their respects. But Sun Yun waved them off, clearly signaling that the two did not wish to be disturbed at this moment. Master, he lives here. Sun Yun's heart raced, her voice soft as she spoke to her master beside her. Within the sea of clouds, in the 5th-tier star domain, a purple continent lay amidst misty star fog. This continent was over 3 times the size of Moro, and from a distance, it resembled a fierce beast lying in wait, coldly gazing at the starry sky. What distinguished this purple continent from the Great Moro continent was the presence of 4 black towers on its surface, each radiating a gentle glow that covered various areas of the continent. At this moment, within the star mist, the mist suddenly churned, and a sharp screech rang out. 100 zhong-sized tiger-like beast burst forth from the fog, its eyes filled with hatred as it locked onto the purple continent ahead. Faintly, it seemed to hear the pitiful cries of a mother beast coming from that land. With a roar, the beast's figure blurred like lightning, charging toward the continent. Its speed was so fast that in the blink of an eye, It collided with the protective light surrounding the purple continent. Instantly, the protective glow flickered rapidly. The tiger-like fierce beast roared and charged again. But at that moment, a beam of purple light shot out from the continent, arriving at an unimaginable speed. Within the purple light was a middle-aged man, clad in a purple and gold robe, exuding immense authority. His eyes were deep, his brows faint and low, giving him a somewhat sinister appearance. His speed was so fast that there was already an afterimage. In the blink of an eye, he shattered the protective light layer and appeared in the starry sky. With a wave of his right hand, a purple light spread out, enveloping the tiger-like beast in an instant. "Refine," a cold voice echoed. The purple light surrounding the beast immediately transformed into a massive pill-refining furnace. As it spun rapidly, a piercing scream came from within. But before long, the scream gradually faded away, eventually disappearing without a trace. "Congratulations, Sectmaster, for attracting another star tiger beast. It won't be long before your tiger bone soul blade is fully refined." A burst of laughter rang out, and beside the purple-robed man, an elderly figure in a matching purple robe materialized. He clasped his hands and smiled.